It's recording.
I see it.
All right, here we go. Hey everybody, it's episode 1 of Peso and oBawany. This is just an effort for us to keep everybody entertained during this very strange period of time. Today, our first guest is going to be one of the most loved people at Roberto Clemente Community Academy
Thank
of
you.
all time. I don't have any data, and it's not Patel. I don't have any data backing this up, but I will go ahead and say in my 3-year experience of a school that's been open for about 50 years, that this man is one of the most revered and loved people at Clemente. We have Gaston Griffin on. This is a major coup for us on our first episode.
Man, that is so
How's it going, Gaston?
good, man. I'm happy to be here. For those of you who don't know, Gaston is Mr. Griffin.
Oh yeah,
It's a weird name, I know. Gaston when I'm messing up, but you know.
Luis oBawany is a very normal.
See, we're in the same boat. We get it.
Hey,
I'm doing well.
so you called me oBawany a few times my first year.
Oh yeah.
Always a copy lad.
I'm dead.
He'd be sitting opposite of me, and he wouldn't say anything. He'd just be
Wow.
sitting there because he's so busy trying to get his
Yeah.
lessons done.
Dang.
Yeah.
Way to go, Griffin.
Yeah. How do you respond to that? Why do you think that me and Patel are the same person?
Man, I
That's
don't
our first question.
Dang. I think it's y'all's beards. You both have
Come on, man.
very nice beards.
What else?
No, this is Patel's excuse to try to get complimented. Don't do it.
The glasses. No, I don't know. I don't know. There's no easy way out of this, but you're my only like. Oh man, we're just gonna go there. My only friends that I don't want to get this wrong. That are Pakistani.
Yes, but Patel isn't Pakistani.
See, dang.
No,
Love you, Griffin.
I'm trying not. I don't know how to do this. But
Oh, this is great, dude. This is all I wanted.
Around, we get it. It makes sense.
So Bawani is Pakistani.
Yes, sir.
Patel is
From India. My parents.
if you're just listening to the audio part, Gaston just opened his hands up like, "What are you?"
like this is because I don't want to. Right? I don't even want to try to associate with being. So in college, I went to a school that had a high number of Nigerians. Got tons of Nigerian friends. I look Nigerian. I've been told this many times, but I'm not. I'm not Nigerian.
Yeah.
So the Nigerian people and culture was just like huge at our school. They had like a certain swag. They were usually, all in fraternities, all very smart, doctors, lawyers, engineers. And so it felt cool to be thought of as a Nigerian because they all like have gone on to do big things, but I'm not. I just look that. So I hope that gives a little bit of glimpse of looking like you could be Indian or Pakistani, like me looking like I could be Nigerian or Ghanaian
Or Pakistani. Yeah.
or Pakistani.
I thought you were Pakistani.
That's right.
It did seem
So that doesn't like downplay the fact that I got it wrong and I missed out and I messed up. So
We love you, man.
You're not
We do
Hooper.
take
Like
that.
you don't have to explain yourself. Like
Yeah, you don't have to
I'm a
explain
person of
yourself.
color, you know.
well, just let me say sorry in advance. I didn't know, guys. I didn't know these questions were.
You don't
gonna
need to say anything. Hoover tomorrow will have
start
to.
off like Griffin. You messed it up. So
No, you're good. We're saving the reckoning for
you guys
Hoover.
also both have a love for like hip hop, which also kind of confused me. And your athletic urban wear is also kind of similar. So it's not just on like a ethnicity race thing. Could I just try to save myself here? I'm just talking in circles, huh?
Oh.
Guys, I live in Texas now. I miss y'all. Know your worth.
No, you're worth. So I think outside of us meandering around nonsense, I apologize. I think the first question I had, and kind of, I want to leave everything up to you to like talk as much as you want or give us feedback as much as you want.
Yeah.
But I think the first question last night, I know Patel doesn't take this job seriously. I do.
I just woke up.
Yeah, he just woke up. I think the first question I had is, how's life after Clemente? How you doing? How are you holding up? Do you miss being an educator in Chicago? Do you miss, any of that? Or is it like, kind of a, I gave what I could give type, and it's life goes on. How you
Yeah,
feeling?
that's a big question.
Yeah.
If you've ever been in my class, I'm a talker, right? So I could talk, but I'm also a feeler, right? So, my kids have seen me shed tears before, get emotional because I do have some feelings about not being in Chicago. Little voice crack there. Can y'all edit that on the back end?
No, it's
Um,
good. It shows emotion.
Edit.
what if it
Like,
was due to like just pure voice crack? Anywho, I miss Chicago and teaching at Clemente a ton, a lot, because that's I feel like being around students, being around people who care about education, people who are like-minded um, in your principles and drive. You there's a vibe that comes off of that and that comes from that, no matter how hard the work is as a teacher, which y'all know it's hard. um, but man, I was in my element. I was in my comfort zone. Like, teaching was felt good. It felt cool. I could do it, and I could do it well, and I thought I was pretty good at it, and was on this like want to climb the education ladder and impact on the largest scale I can. Um, and where I'm at now, I'm not in education, in like the institution, in like the school, helping out educators or the students. I still work in education, but I'm working with more so the dollars that go back to school districts.
so the kids, when they asked like where someone was like in my first period, they're like, "Hey, where Griffin at right now?" And then someone's like, "He's a principal or something like that." And then they're like, "It's more than that, but yeah, he's just the principal stuff."
No,
Like
I
radar.
definitely. Oh, my bad, Patel. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, no. They just like you can try to explain it. They're gonna end up at the end of the day saying no principal. And I don't think that's like
Okay. Yeah. So just to dive a little bit deeper into that, I was in school the last 2 years of
No,
teaching
no,
at.
hold on, hold on. I want you to explain this, and then I'm gonna explain it in a way they will understand. So go
Oh,
ahead.
don't do me wrong now, Patel.
Patronizing the kids.
I think I could still talk to the kids. So
All right, we're gonna end this video. And then... Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Gaston.
so I was in school for the last 2 years, trying
Mystic
to gain.
of the year.
I gained a educational leadership master's degree, right, which can allow me to step into a leadership role. The last year at school, I was doing a lot of my internship for that program. So between Rossi, Henderson, and Mojica, I was doing a bunch of extra stuff, like helping be a co-grade level lead, ILT, even the LSC was like a push from administration, like, hey, we know you're in this program. You should run for this position as a local school council teacher chair, which, Wani, we've talked about that a little bit, and you've come to many LSC meetings. I don't think Patel came to any, but that's cool. So I was doing a lot of the, I'm coming for you. I was doing a lot of the stuff to become a principal by being in that
I
internship.
almost got arrested for these kids. The hell?
Now, hey, bro, fight the man. I'm with you.
We're talking about LSC. I was in jail almost. I was wanting to light myself. Okay, go ahead. Just
So an opportunity came to still work in education and to work on leading in a way or in a direction that was more on the dollar side. So this opportunity would take us back to Texas, which would allow a big opportunity for my wife in starting her own practice. She's a physical therapist, but also for me to interact, impact, and work with superintendents within school districts in the state of Texas. So I took advantage of that opportunity and moved back down to Texas, knowing that I'd be leading a team that wasn't teachers. It would be more business minded. It would be more from the standpoint of like looking at the dollars, which it's not a strong suit of mine. I don't love. I didn't love it when I was on LSC either. But my time on the LSC allowed me to look at things differently and look at the money going back to schools, which I found out, I did not know this before, was in the form of positions. So in the form of teachers, really, paras, whatever personnel that needed to be in the school to help run the school, they're paid a certain amount of money, and that comes from this general fund. The principals would have to move around buckets and all this stuff. So it was something I found out I didn't know enough about, which in those LSC meetings, I sucked at it because I was often outvoted, but I didn't understand how big of a deal these dollars were. And I was just looking at it from the point of the teacher who's with the students. So I'm thinking like, we need an intercom and all this other stuff. So this really did kind of fuel the flame of wanting to be able to speak more to dollars and impact school districts in that way. Now, that doesn't mean my ambitions to be back in a school have left. I'm still working on stuff to become a principal. And that's not something I take lightly at all. But in where I'm at now, for any students that are wondering what I'm doing, I work with school districts to partner with the company that I'm currently with to provide documentation tools for special education providers. So any service that a special education student receives, the person administering that help has to document it. On the back end of that system, it bills for the services that need to be rendered to that student, which brings money back to the school district.
So
Go ahead.
let me summarize that. So Mr. Griffin is not the principal, but he's also not the principal. So what he means is he's out here in Texas trying to save money for schools by using resources better. While there are many more situations, he's not the principal, but he works with the principal.
I actually work with the principal's boss, who's the superintendent. So
Illuminati, my boy in the Illuminati.
at the top. So these superintendents guys, I got cussed out by a superintendent 2 days ago.
Oh, give me, what's his name?
Buddy, we ain't even gonna go there because Texas is kind of crazy. But he let me know, I'm calling saying like, hey, we're gonna bill on these dollars now. And he's like, get your hand out of my pocket. So, having to explain the federal intent of the program, which brings back dollars, like they're entitled to this money. All we're doing is helping you get that money. So I help districts not save money, get more money. Not save. We want to bring back dollars, right? So ultimately,
profit.
That's yes. To hopefully that's what we say we do better than any other company like ours. So what this does is it puts me in a lot of meetings with district leadership. I actually went back to my last district I taught in, which is Northeast, and gave a presentation in front of about 20 of my old leadership. Actually, one of my coworkers is now at the leadership level. And so it was kind of cool being in that room and being able to bring back dollars, hopefully, and potentially to the district I was at, which all of those students I started with when they were in 6th grade, they're now seniors. All the kids I started with at Clemente that were freshmen are now in that senior group. So yeah, I still know the names and faces of kids in districts that I would love to bring back dollars to and impact, because that's, yeah.
Larsh. That's my homie, Larsh.
Yeah.
Imani.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for that. Patel's just throwing out names.
Just throwing out names.
Asia. Can you talk to me about some of your, if you're able to, can you talk to me about some of your favorite memories at Clemente?
Bro. I'm trying to make a brother cry. Think some of the
Large?
Just the daily being in the hall.
Yeah.
Guys, why didn't y'all give me a heads up, man? Y'all are about to make me shed tears, episode 1.
We need the ratings.
No,
yeah, we really pulled you for episode 1. Like we knew what we wanted.
We knew what we wanted.
So I think, dude, edit this. I think One of the coolest moments, hardest moments, realest moments I've ever had was when I told my basketball team that we'd be leaving. Y'all got me.
You guys are making me look so bad. I try to cry and I can't.
It's because I got kids now, bro. Kids change everything.
Mm.
So telling them that we were leaving was extremely difficult. And we cried and we hugged and we answered hard questions of why. And, you know, I don't think even now my explanation is good enough for 15 to 18-year-old who's like growing bonds with someone who genuinely cares for them, who's tried their best to make what they're doing better and more fun, which, man, I I wasn't the best coach. We all know that. But my girls look so good. Them shoes, them fits, them jacket, man, I wanted them to feel like they were on a varsity sport. I wanted them to feel that that experience of high school is something that brought value to them and worth to them. And telling them and saying, "Hey, we're leaving," it was a bad memory, kind of like, because it hurt, but it was so awesome in the moment to just be like, see how much someone cares about you and show someone how much you care for them, and to tell them with tears in my eyes because it hurt the most, and to have that reciprocated because they were going to miss me as well. It was like the evidence to support the claim that we made a connection, them to me and me to them, and striving and learning and struggling towards this corny goal of winning games and having a good time doing it meant a lot, and it impacted. And so to see that impact was like the dopest, because that's who I spent the most hard classes with. It wasn't my classes. My classes were easy. Basketball practice, when you're having to show someone how to do a layup and you can't even do a layup well, or teach something that has so much emotion tied to it, it was like, I'm a college athlete. I love sports. Y'all love sports. So the emotion tied to that and the learning curve tied to that was like, it made teaching come alive. I wasn't teaching them something that they had to go take a test. They had to take their test on a court with the ball with teammates. And like, so there's a lot of like bonding that happened over that when it was done right. And then to see it all like come to an end. Yeah, it was a hard moment, but it's my best memory. This is weird. More? Y'all want more?
Whatever you want to share, man.
Teaching sex ed was always horrible. I hated it. But during that time, I got to teach about knowing your worth.
How you getting them DMs though?
That's not. See,
Sorry.
that's not. But there's really questions like that, or weird questions. But I got to really come at the kids from a, hey, you got to know your worth, right? Which turned out to be like kind of my catchphrase if you were in my class, if you moved on and left. So the kids that are seniors, their freshman year, I taught know their worth. The kids that are juniors and sophomores, all of them, I taught all of them know your worth, right? And it was more than just like a lesson. It was an opportunity to speak value into young people, which I feel like all good teachers are trying to do. And it also gave me an opportunity to introduce my wife, which brought me to Chicago. I showed all the kids our wedding. I showed all the kids me singing to my wife as she walked down the aisle. I brought them into this moment that like was my first moment in the city, like in Chicago. Like that's what made Chicago such a dear place. Like this is where I committed and like, committed to a woman and started a life and ultimately had a child, and like growing my family. It allowed me to bring all of my students in on that. So when you came to my door and you see the big wedding picture of my wife and I, or inside my class, our wedding party, which is all of our family, or the trips that we took, like I really appreciated the opportunities to bring the kids into my world and try to like be open with who I am. And, you know, that unit was always uncomfortable, but it allowed me to introduce my wife to everyone, which, you know, I was always talking about my wife, which is kind of annoying. But, and then when Gideon came, it was like, I'm talking about him all the time. So being able to share with the students, speak value into the students, those are some great memories. The pep rallies were always fun. It's always kind of a gamble. You don't know if someone's going to like get up and do something real dumb or like run onto the stage, or, you know, if the act is going to be funny or dumb. Also, I think just being able to be myself, the times where I like got to just be dumb and it'd be okay.
You kind of, no, sorry, I cut you off. My apologies. What were you saying?
Oh, I was saying
Sorry about that.
The times where I got to be myself and be dumb with the students, and that was like, okay, those are always good memories.
I think like, I know you kind of alluded to it, but can you talk to me about like what like Clemente in total, right? The building, the people who occupy the building, the students, the families, your teammates, you know, all the folks we're with. What does that mean to you? And then also specifically, what do you think about like being able to be authentic and be yourself with the students? Like you just mentioned, like the thing you prize the most about your experience was like just being able to be like, you know, weird, be strange. And me and Patel talk about that a lot. Like, you know, I've been talking to like one of our colleagues about like, you know, what is authenticity, right? Like every day kind of being a struggle as a teacher to fight back between what they want us to be, you know, and what we kind of try to be, which is anything our kids need at any given moments, like shifting from, you know, a brother figure, a father figure, to, you know, someone you can relate with, empathize with, someone you can joke with, but also someone who is, you know, unfortunately authority in the classroom. Like how'd you reconcile all of that as a teacher? And like, in a nutshell, what did Clemente mean to you? Like if you could talk about this as kind of a part of the journey of like life for you.
Yeah, I think more than anything, Clemente, it taught me hustle.
Mm-hmm.
It taught me like you've got to put in work. Like you've got to put it in. Like, so where I came from, so when I moved to Chicago, I came from San Antonio, the district I was with. As a history teacher, every history teacher for my grade level in the class I taught, we all had the same units for the whole year. So going to one summer session and being like, okay, what is our unit? What are we doing? And it's done. Going to Clemente, you had to create your lesson plans every unit. And I was teaching health and PE, which I hadn't taught before. It really showed me like, okay, you think you're a good teacher, flex all those good teacher muscles, right? So I had to like now get down to creating a unit plan and like being able to explain like all this stuff. So just from a teacher efficacy place, like it made me better because it required more from me. And then I learned socially at Clemente that who I am and what I bring to a room, no one else could do because no one else is me. So trusting my instinct in putting in a joke here, freestyling, making a song, all of that stuff I was doing in San Antonio, but I didn't have someone saying, yeah, you could do that. Marcy Sorensen, anything I wanted to do, she was like, yeah, do it, make a song. I'll put it on the intercom. And when that hallway song came out, other teachers are like, what the heck's going on? I didn't care because the principal was cool with it. So I was like, yo, let's be stupid. You know what I'm saying?
One of my favorite songs.
It's one of my top 10s.
Do you have that song? Like, do you have a recording of it?
Bro, and I paid for the beat. Let's go, Aussie Beats.
Would you be cool with us using that as kind of our intro?
Bro, yeah, 100%.
If we ever make money, we'll give you like 2% of it.
Well, you got to pay Austin.
I don't know who that is. We don't have to pay him.
The free airtime. What you mean?
We're giving him exposure. We're giving him clout.
I guess I already paid for the beat. I did buy the beat, which is, I was like, man, you got me out. So yeah, there's a Griffin playlist. Look at that.
Yo.
The UIC field trip. Let's go.
Please, can you share these resources and the song as well?
Oh my God.
I miss hearing it.
over doing your part. That's my job. That's my job. But let me get back to the topic. Yeah, what a dummy. But like that kind of stuff. Clemente kind of taught me that you could be yourself. It's okay. It's needed. It's impactful. And like, it's a draw to people, not just students. It's a draw. So I think you're always having to sell yourself of like who you are. You're always trying to promote like what do you stand for? What do you bring to the table? What's your value? And so by me not being myself, it takes away from what I can bring to the table. It takes away from all that stuff. And Clemente kind of affirmed that like you could do that in San Antonio and move to Chicago and do the same thing on the West Side at Roberto Clemente. You could be the same guy you were down in San Antonio you could be that guy and then move up to Chicago and be the same guy. So I guess Clemente affirmed that. I think the people I've never met, well, I've met some hardworking teachers in San Antonio, but Clemente teachers are some of the most hardworking, like heart-driven people. Not all of them, but the ones that were there that were.
Hey man, speak up if you want to put my name in your mouth. What's up, man?
Hey, you feeling guilty? That's on you. But there were a ton of teachers.
I don't care about
that, like, bust their butt.
Who are you?
You would always see in compliment. Patel. I think Patel's a great teacher. I think oBawany's a great teacher. Anytime I came to Patel's class, like he's teaching. He's not just like putting on a front. He's being himself. He's bringing himself to the table so that kids can value from it. I feel like that type of to teach at Clemente, you had to be like just ready to be kind of run down by kids and like come back the next day and still love and still like pour into them. And like it's not easy. So when you see it, like anyone that I saw there over 2 years, I was like, oh, okay. They about it. Because it's easy to leave. Like I left, not because I hate anyone, I had an opportunity, but like there were some people that you see like Van Loon. I think Van Loon's a fantastic teacher. I think he's someone that when I'd come into his room with the guitar or want to play the guitar, he'd stop class and like do that. Or, well, never in class, but like people that gave more than just what needed to be given. And I think that, there were some teachers that gave just what, the bare minimum, but you didn't see those teachers more than a few years, right? Especially not, I think when there was a change in leadership and everyone that came in or everyone that was there stayed through the new leadership, it was like those people were really here because of the students. Like they weren't motivated because of the leader, they were motivated because they wanted to do something for the students. So I think that like it was more than what I had seen in Texas because the stakes were higher, the job was harder, and it was like you had to be a more resilient person to try to bring an impact. So, man, I think there are tons of teachers like having a class next to Redmond and next to Sizo and, messing and bothering with Hoover all day and coaching and working with Pavlik and, dropping in on people's classes or bothering the counseling department. Like Tolene, Shasta, like there are so many like just great, genuine, good people that really do care for students. And it was like, it was the same group that had been there my entire time and that are still there. And it's like, I commend y'all, man. I think you guys are in it for the right reasons, but like care, like you genuinely care for the well-being of the students. And y'all got it tough. Like it's not like that in Texas. Like I feel like the teaching conditions are a little bit easier. I do. Maybe not everywhere. I think Houston ISD is going through some things right now, but I didn't experience what I experienced at Clemente in Texas. And I know how much it made me have to grow and stretched me. So I can only imagine what it was like for other teachers that are still there, that are still caring, that are still pushing. So I don't know if that answers your question fully, oBawany, but if there's anywhere where I left out, please hone in on that area and I can answer that better.
And I thank God that I was never next to you because I think we would have gotten in a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
That,
for sure. For
that
sure.
like me and oBawany this year, I'm like, my God, I don't know how we're still here after being so close.
Music
Speak
would
for
have been a
yourself.
problem for sure.
He comes in my classroom and he keeps knocking on the window and like being like, Lars! And then he'll
That's
like
true.
run away and then he'll throw something
true.
at Kimani and run away. And I'm
That's
like,
true. Yeah.
and they're like,
Yeah.
you know, they'll yell. They'll be like, you know, he need to grow up. He needs to
Yeah.
grow up. And
Correct.
and we're trying to learn in here.
Yeah, that is interesting when I'm like more immature than the kids. But
I
that's
think
that's who I am. That's how I am.
Authentic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. The kids want to play when they want to play, but heaven forbid I interrupt some learning. Heaven forbid we're in this class. He's trying to us what a 4-year college is and a 2-year college that I come on in and interrupt. Heaven forbid.
But what
The
I
kids
want
are.
to be fun. No, that's
Yeah.
fun.
Well, it's like that constant struggle for me is like, I'm a human being, like you kind of alluded to, right? Like for me, you can see how I'm feeling on my face, right? Like one thing I admired about you is that every day you were just consistent. And I was like, I don't know how the hell you do that. Like for me, when I'm upset and everybody knows, right? I mean, I've had some like pretty interesting interactions with colleagues, like, who'll be like, hey, what's up? Are you doing okay? I'm like, can you just not talk to me right now? It's literally 7:54. I'm walking in. I'm not having a good day already. And I'm just like constantly in awe of like people like you who are just consistent.
Oh, bro, I definitely have my moments.
Yeah.
Teaching PE,
Yeah.
if you don't go there every now and then,
Yeah.
kids just do whatever. So you do have to like shut the class down and like call every parent. But I didn't have to do that a lot.
Yeah.
But I definitely had my moments. And like you, I think I'm pretty, you could see it on my face when
Yeah.
I'm upset. And so I think you just caught me maybe at good moments or like at a reset. But man, I definitely was human. And dude, thank you for saying that about me. That makes me feel awesome. But I definitely had my days.
Yeah.
Sorry for anyone that I yelled at. Oh, dude, one time I got onto a kid because he was like play fighting with this girl. And he said, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Who am I?" Let me tell you who I am. And I had to get like crazy. And you know what he said? He said, "Dude, you're just like the cops." And I was like, oh. It's like, no, inside I'm thinking like, no, not me. I'm not like the cops, not me. But then like looking at me in the moment, I was like, yeah, you just like the cops. You sound like the cops right now, Gaston. So getting big and being bad didn't always work out. So
no, it never does.
Yeah,
I
truly.
did apologize to that student. I did apologize, and we are better now. But I did go back.
I know who this is too, because
You know who he is.
I know who he is, and he told me about it, and I was like, I've never heard anyone have a problem with Mr. Griffin. He's like, no, we're cool. He just doesn't know how I am sometimes.
But see that to me is like me being able to take learn with humility from that and apologize to dude. Like that's what Clemente taught me. Like seriously.
Yeah, shit. That's probably the biggest thing I learned. Like I was like, man, how am I apologizing to a kid like my first year? I'm like, what the hell is this? I shouldn't be apologizing. I'm being an adult here. But like Patel just kind of mentioned, right? They just, like it's this constant. I think the toughest part about this job is you have to maintain. Like I think our senior class is roughly about 120 some kids. You have to know 120 personalities, right? I'm teaching all the seniors this year, and you got to know what's okay, what's not, and like you also got to be okay with like apologizing even when you don't feel like you did anything wrong. And that's like the number one thing you have to learn right away, right? But it's also like, is it a good thing to be less like kind of how I called it, less toxic? Like what's wrong with apologizing, right? But I think like, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think like the toughest thing though is like the things we apologize about, right? Like something I've been wrestling with that I'd love to get your thoughts on. I feel like there's such a thin line that gets blurry every time you visit it when it comes to like being understanding and then also not being compassionate and then at the same time setting a wrong example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, especially with like some of the stuff that happens in the hallways, right? Like, you're like, hey, I apologize for yelling at you, but I did yell at you because you were harassing somebody.
Yeah.
No, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think as teachers, we're looking at it from the like worst case scenario. Like,
Yeah.
don't step up and stand and be like the presence.
Yeah.
What could this situation, turn into? So, yeah, I think me trying to stop what I thought was going on, we figured that out in the moment, but it definitely needed some going back and revisiting and saying, I messed up the rapport. Like
Yeah.
I messed up. My perception was off. Should you be
Yeah.
play fighting? No. But should I be yelling at you like you hit her for real? Maybe not.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of that, and there's this like constant feeling of like, if I'm staying silent, obviously I'm saying this is okay behavior,
Yeah.
and I'm mediating that with something.
It's like when kids don't realize, like, I think they realize now, but I'm like, do you know I'm like a lot cooler than you? Like, I don't mean to be disruptive. Nope, it's true, man. I got these kids that coming up to me, and I'm like, man, and I'll say this because I've said this to their faces.
Let's
I
go.
said, hey, man, you don't have a great haircut. You have an okay haircut. You don't look like me, though. And, like, you're smart, but you're not as smart as me. And I see so much potential in you, but I don't see all the
That's
potential.
such a throwaway statement. He says that to everybody. I see a lot of potential in you. Like, if Carlin was here, she'd be like, "What?" He always says that to me.
Carlin,
Harsh.
I'm not that cool. Like you probably are cooler than most. And I'm including myself in that most because you're young. How old are you? 26?
Give or take.
No, how old? 26, 24?
27.
27. Okay. You look 26. 27, yeah, that's a cool age. 34 is not a cool age. I don't know how old you are, oBawany. I'm thinking 30, 29.
32.
See, 32 is still cool. 34 is not cool. I change diapers all day. Like, it's not. I'm old. You should see how high my socks are right now. Like,
It's paid to lay down now.
Hey, Gaston, like, if you could, for example, give like some advice to, let's say, teachers at Clemente and students at Clemente, what advice would you give, like, in terms of handling relationships or handling like how we communicate and exist together? Like, you were really good. I thought you were a phenomenal educator in the classroom, but one thing like and I'm going to add another question in after this, but one thing I really appreciated was like your ability to understand kids. Like, how did you, and that's kind of been the thing, right? And I don't know how to exactly explain how I do what I do when it comes to understanding kids, but like, if you could, what's some advice you can give everybody on like how you approach situations with young people?
So Patel, I'll say this, and you might be upset with me, but I think more kids were cool with me while I was there than they are cool with you. In just volume, just in numbers.
Yeah, no,
not
sure.
in the level of how cool. Like,
I get it. True.
Okay, sorry. Because I never like. People are always trying to tell you who they are. It's up to us to believe them. So I just believe if you're coming off as the gangbanger, cool, that's you. If you're coming off as the druggie, cool, that's like, I didn't try to change anyone. Now I could speak to some things that I had, messed up with and, try to empathize, but like some stuff I couldn't empathize with. I've never been in a gang. I've had a gun pulled on me and I've been beat up before, but I've never been in a gang, right? So I can't empathize there, but really treating everyone with a, like, I'm going to take who you say you are and we'll go with the flow, but I'm going to try to empathize with you where I can. This bird just tried to attack me. Chill out, bro. And where I can't empathize, I'm just going to try to understand who you are.
Yeah.
And that, like, it sounds corny, and I know kids made fun of how, like, happy I was and how interacting I was with people because it was, like, kind of over the top a little bit. Yeah. But I really did care about, like, who is this person? What's their backstory? Who are your parents? Who's your mom and dad? Like, I I wanted that. That's why when you came to my door, all that stuff was up front. Like, oh, Gaston or Griffin's married. He's got a kid. He likes coaching basketball. Him and my family was up. Like the stuff that I want to know about people, I kind of was trying to already like put off and tell people so that there was a feeling of like, I don't know, like opportunity to exchange.
Hey, tell that dog to shut up. Go ahead.
My neighbor just got home. So yeah, it was just, I don't know that it's, I don't know. I don't think it's anything like I tried to do like over the top, but I definitely was intentional with interacting with people. And I think that's just how I am. Some kids don't like it. Some students like it in a large setting. Some like it in a small setting, but everyone likes to be seen. And so in opportunities to do that, and Patel, oBawany, I know we started this off with me making the mistake of calling you guys each other's name, but I would do that all the time with students, and I felt real bad, but it gave me an opportunity to like start all over and be like, man, I totally forgot your name.
Don't do that now.
Well, I just
No. Don't let him tell you anything. This is a guy who literally walks around school calling every male student Jose. Don't listen to this guy.
That's not me.
Yeah. That's his means of being like, what's up, Jose? And then someone being like, that's not my name. And then be like, oh, what's your name? And then he always forgets.
Okay, I like that.
I don't like that.
Bonnie's like, no.
I don't endorse Patel's actions at Clemente.
Yeah. So I think those two things, oBawany, and then the last one I guess is vulnerability.
Yeah. Talk to me about that.
Vulnerability is just, yeah, you may look like whatever the word is for like weak. We know that there's different words out there, but man, me embracing the fact that I've committed to a woman, me, you know, shedding some tears when we talk about my dad, or you know, getting excited when we, you know, talked about like school spirit stuff, or like embracing the parts that people are going to think are weak. Like it shows you who I am, but it also shows you I've got nothing to hide behind. So like this is what you get. So this worked a lot when kids would try to like make fun of me or whatever. I know kids do that. They'll try to clap or whatever it's called. And I was able to go back and forth, or sometimes I would just be like, dang, that's funny. One time I was FaceTiming, I think my wife or my sister, and one of the kids in the back of the class was like, nose on fat. And I was like, dang, my nose is on fat. Like being able to just embrace that stuff, because it, you know, all that stuff makes me me. And
Sure, that kid, man. No, you shouldn't take that.
it was really funny, actually. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed because I had never heard that description of nose. So right, it was like nose on fat. I was like, oh damn, that's creative. But yeah, I think all that stuff, man, like not taking myself serious.
That boy Peso.
Yeah. They call me Young Pit Stains. Go insane. Hey.
Chicago's baby.
Hey, oBawany, do people actually call him Young Peso?
Regrettably, yeah, I do.
Hey, that's dope. That's dope as hell.
Yeah. You know, we're both on the 8th floor. We're both right next door to each other, as you know. And he teaches junior seminar and senior, and I teach senior seminar. It's very obvious how this was organized, but I'm not going to say nothing.
Dang, is that a political move, you think?
Well, I mean, this is going to be casted to like kids and colleagues, and I don't, you know, I do like my job.
I can say it.
Hey, no, don't say it.
Bro.
Gaston, my follow-up question, and thank you for sharing that stuff.
Sorry,
like,
seriously,
all this. No, you're great, dude. I'm literally, like, personally, I'm like learning a lot myself, and I think like it's good to talk about these things, and it's good to like think about like who we are and what we do, you know?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that, and I also appreciate Patel taking us off track because I love the humor.
I love that.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, kind of to pick your brain and get more of your ideas, like. Right now, there's 3 of us here, right? All 3 of us are teachers of color, right? At Roberto Clemente too, at a time, of course. But like specifically from your experience, like one thing, I had an interaction with a student this year who I really love, And, he made a very salient point where he said, they want, and I'm also thinking about last year, but he made a point where he's like, they want us to like, they want like to cater to Black students at Clemente, but like look at who the staff is, right? And then this was during Student Voice, and we talked a lot about like, over the last few months, over like, who do like a lot of our Black students commit to in terms of like relationships, right? And it's the majority of our security team. Like the majority of our teaching staff is overwhelmingly white, but the majority of our security and like our culinary staff, like that team, right,
We don't give
happens
enough
to
love,
be
man.
like,
We don't give enough love to our security and our
no, absolutely not. We really don't.
really crazy.
Security, the Airmark team, like the custodians and our lunch staff, like they're incredible people, and we don't give them enough love. Truth be told, we never can. I mean, we need to be better. We definitely can, but we're not doing justice to that. But like, it's crazy. Like when I started building relationships with like security and everybody else, I learned so much more about students who weren't opening up to me, right? Even as a person of color, like I'm not a Black educator, and I'm aware of that every day in this space, right? I'm also an educator that doesn't speak Spanish when a lot of our kids do, and that's like something I think about a lot. But like speaking as a Black educator in Chicago public schools where we don't have many, like what was your like taken day to day about like how African or Black students are dealing with like this environment, right? Are they like, I think about last year's graduation, we didn't have one speaker at all that spoke specifically to a major part of our population, which is our Black students, right? And some of them let me know, and also like throughout the years, some of them let me know as well, like what is Clemente as a space for Black students, right? It's historically dominated in different ways in terms of cultural representation, and that's like something that's always stuck with me. Like for you as a Black educator, one of the few at Clemente, and as you someone who really, really like a lot of our Black students looked up to, still look up to, how'd you deal with all of that? Or what do you think about like your existence in a space like that?
Yeah, so to start that answer off, I guess I have to qualify who I am.
Yeah.
My grandfather and grandmother, R.C. Griffin and Etha Mae Griffin, were both educators in this little white town in Texas called West, right? Now, back in the 50s and 40s, well, in the 50s, 40s, excuse me, they both graduated from Prairie View A&M, which is a HBCU. So you got two married Black people who own a large amount of land, about 60 acres of land.
Yeah.
We still have a farm out there. They were both kept after desegregation. So the Black school in town, Dunbar, all the Black teachers had to find other jobs, where my grandparents were absorbed into that high school, right? So predominantly white, Czechoslovakian town, farmers. My grandfather, Black man, was an ag teacher, which you don't see in the state of Heartland, Texas. And my grandmother taught English and home ec. So I just hired a guy whose his girlfriend's dad was one of my pawpaw's students, right? So I come from a long line of educators. So to step into education for me, the motivation was like it goes further back than just like, oh, I want to go in and make a change. I was like, no, I want to make a change because this is what my grandparents were doing. This is what my parents are doing. This is what I now get to do. So me going into any teaching space, I've got to like have the motivation of why I'm in that space. And that comes from back. Like my grandparents were educated, college educated. So I like education is not a guiding principle, but it's like it's a core value of mine.
Yeah.
So having that, like, that's what gave me kind of the fire to move anywhere and say, I can go to Chicago and teach. My first interview was walking through the row houses over at by Old Cabrini. So the row houses over there. On the other side was Jenner. The principal at Jenner was Mr. Dang it. Oh my gosh. Croston.
Yeah.
And he passed the second year I was at Clemente. He passed away due to like medical complications. But I remember he told me that like, if I'm going to be in this as an educator that's Black, that I need to get more education. And I needed to like have principles and stand on them. Like, just if you've got morals and principles, don't put them down for anybody, right? And so I'm thinking, yeah, I know, man. I'm a teacher. I get it, but it was very much different going into Clemente. I don't know if you remember the older guy that came in, under the new administrator's first year. It was an older man who was supposed to be helping with discipline, and we had a meeting call.
Oh, the shadow principal. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know him, but I don't think he's worth wasting any breath on.
Yeah, so it was me and Naja Thomas. We're in the freshman.
Naja, yeah.
Right. We have a freshman team meeting, like, for the teachers.
Yeah.
And this gentleman refers to all of the black males in the room as security. You guys need to make sure you're turning off the escalator and stopping everyone. And I'm like, I'm actually a teacher, and Mr. Thomas had to do the same thing. So it's like, yeah, Chicago was a little more racy than South Texas, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's a little wild. And then being on the LSC. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, Bawany, you were at this when they were voting on the statue or talking about the statue. And I kept bringing stuff up because I just did not want that to happen. And I said, okay, Roberto Clemente is a Puerto Rican athlete, and that's what he's representing here. What about representing of African-American males, white males, Asian males, just beyond the scope of just, this is a Puerto Rican athlete? And I was told, while on the council, in front of everyone, how do you know what Roberto Clemente identified with? I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just saying, as a black man, I don't necessarily look at him and be like, Roberto Clemente, African-American. I don't do that. So to me, the representation was very much, that of what, the ethnicity or the, culture, I don't know if race is the right word, around that area. So that was, after that, I was kind of told to stop talking. And one time, I think you were there at this one too, Bawany, I tried to argue and I was told to be quiet. Because I was like going back and forth because I didn't feel like the representation was there. So I saw that from like a community view, right? Which was weird. I'm like, wait a minute, man. Like, Chicago's like hella black. Like, there's black people everywhere. Right. And the culture is like very much like how things are done is very much black. I heard every ethnicity say the N-word every day.
Mm-hmm.
Black man, right? My big mama, who was my great-great-grandmama, she would use the N-word, but she was a sharecropper, right? Like legit early 90s sharecropper. My mom might have used it a couple times when I was acting up, but this was a word that, like, down in Texas, other races didn't really say. Like, you got beat up, like people fought. But up here, it was so normalized. I don't know if that's the right word. Nigga this, nigga that, everybody. And I'm just like, I had to shut that down in my class, whether you were black or Puerto Rican or whatever, because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. Also being told when I'd wear my do-rags only in the mornings. If y'all saw me in Copyland before the bell, I had a do-rag on because I wanted to look presentable. Like being told, don't you think you should take that off? Oh, you're trying to be one of those guys, huh? These are adult colleagues. I can't get some waves. I'm very much presentable during the day. I take off my. No, but I wasn't raised to do that. I was raised to wear it, and even in my weird time with braids, I would take my do-rag off when I was out. But like, I had a do-rag on right before we started filming because I'm trying to stay waved up too. But there were little things. There was those little microaggressions that that were a little bit difficult. I was told by one of my educational leaders who, not at the school, but he's a principal down here. He said, you have to get on the instructional leadership team and learn how to speak the rigorous language. You have to learn how to speak that side of educational leadership, because once you do get this position, you are going to be put into a disciplinary role. You're going to be an assistant principal who's going to work with rapport and discipline. And he said, because even black people, even black males put in principal positions, people don't think they can speak about rigor. and that Hess matrix and how to move rigor in a classroom and have an engaging classroom. So like that, there are still stereotypes, whether you're in Chicago or in Texas. But I know that at Clemente, it took 2 years to like be present and be there and like stay for the after school stuff and, you know, call parents and engage with parents for people to believe like, oh, this is an effective, good educator. Like no one was taking me at face value, right? I was thought of to be, and that's why in my interview, I said I wanted to teach history, not teach PE, because I didn't want to be seen as this big black athletic guy. Because that's, I've been that. Like I want to like teach a content where people are going to look at me like, okay, this is a teacher, not just the PE teacher or health teacher. Now I had a blast and I had grew a ton and I loved teaching that, but I came into those doors like with the mindset of I don't want to just be pigeonholed. And that's still my mindset. Like you're whoever you are, you're not going to limit me. You're not going to put me in the bucket you think I belong in. And so every day I would have to kind of combat that, while at the same time trying to convince students I was black enough, right? Because of the way I talk, the way I dress. Oh, Mr. Griffin, you're white, but my weight is better than you. But you know, like all kinds of stuff. Like I would like constantly have to kind of prove who I was without showing I was proving who I was, if that makes sense. But yeah, a bunch of kids questioned me, teachers questioned me because not just so much that I was black, but I wasn't the stereotypical black that people were expecting. And so, you know, I think that didn't change at Clemente. I think it got a little harder at Clemente. I don't think it was on purpose, but just with the setup of the school, I wish that there, you know, in the same light, I wish that there were not just more black teachers, but I wish that there were more Puerto Rican teachers. I wish that there were more teachers that matched the demographic of the student population, while still inviting people who don't look like these kids to come in and teach without feeling guilty. Like I had a white colleague tell me they felt bad for coming in and trying to help. Yeah. Like, and they use white guilt against themselves. And I'm like, you can't think like that, because you're here and you have the opportunity to help. So why not help? Put your all into it. Like if it's worth the work, it's not going to be easy. People are going to ridicule you and doubt you and put you down the entire time. Yeah. That's how you know it's real. That's how you know you're where you're supposed to be is when like if there's no pushback, if no one's fighting you in your attempt to help, what are you doing? Like, so I think just on the, you know, not to over talk, but just on the race side, yeah, it definitely had some difficulties, but it also had some awesome moments of just like being able to show students that this is why education is so important, because of our race and our history as African Americans. You know, our forefathers didn't get this opportunity, so why not take advantage of it now? Like, don't let people limit what you can do. Know your worth, know your worth, know your worth, all that stuff. Like, it was important for me to be saying it as a black teacher, because if I'm the only one they have, like, who else that looks like them is saying it? So, you know, I did love when kids would come up and be like, "You're the only black teacher I have." And I'd be like, "Thanks." Yeah. I'm actually working on a book right now. I know that sounds corny, but it's about me and my history as a student. And there's a part that I talk about where I call out the fact I had no black teachers. Zero. No black teachers. And so it's something that you can't say America has to change. No, like people's hearts have to be in education to want to be able to like go and make a real impact. It can't just be like, oh, I'm going to try teaching. It's like, no, you gotta have a love for it, because it's hard.
I think I've been to 2 different school districts, both of them very diverse. One of them the most diverse in Illinois. I think I only had one person of color be my teacher ever in my life.
Yeah.
Didn't realize till now, which is crazy.
Yeah. I had 3 black teachers in my career. Oh, 3rd grade, 7th grade, and at Northeastern at the age of 28. And
I don't
that's
even
like,
say like black tea. I mean like any person of color. Like I had one.
yeah. Yeah. So I think if I said all the people of color I had as educators, probably 5.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
And I was a CPS kid from kindergarten to 8th, and then I was in the suburbs for 4 years, and then just bounced around everywhere else.
yeah. I think that's a bigger question. I think it's a bigger like discussion. Like it's,
Yeah.
but I hope that what I was able to be in a classroom or what I was able to provide in our learning environment, I hope that students of color were able to see that and maybe are a little inspired to be a teacher. Like if
I hope
like
so.
see someone that looks like you do it and they can do it and be themselves doing it,
Yeah.
it's actually pretty dope. I would tell my kids often, I'd stop class and be like, I'm getting paid to do this right now. Like this is dope. Like this is I get paid to do this because it would be so much fun sometimes. And I'd be like, I can't believe this is like my job. I miss it tremendously.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, like during the quarantine, I'm like, I needed a break for a good week, but now I'm like, it'd be nice to go back at some point.
Yeah. My
Then I'm
I
gonna
got
be like, no, I'm
lucky
gonna go
and
back.
took time off back in January for this week. So I'm actually off this week, but I don't get a spring break or whatever. And like just thinking about teaching, man, like being around students, it's like there's an energy and
Yeah.
there's I don't know, it's something about it that now that I'm just around adults and I'm leading adults and I have a team of like consultants underneath me and all these people underneath me, it's like I miss working with students because they're fun. They I don't know, it's different.
It's also something interesting you said of like who our students connect to. Like at Clemente, I think about who I go to for teaching advice.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is no insult, but it's not like the older staff. It's like the people that came in, like the first year I came in, like Carlin, oBawany, like, and the common like theme is like person of color or young, and and I've noticed our students have gravitated very quickly, and those people also don't leave. And it's like oBawany talking shoes with kids, like naturally things that you can connect to, and it's like I always hear, like I had one student say like the teachers at Lane Tech, they wouldn't do this. I'm like, man, I would run the teachers out of Lane Tech in a second. Send them here and let me go there and I'll show you like what's gonna happen. Because it's like it's so much like I don't think kids or even like our leaders or even maybe our staff understand that some of the best teachers I've ever seen are at where we're at. Like just like you said, like given what we give is like I've never seen anything like it.
Because no one stomped out the heart in you. Like no one's like kicked the passion's butt yet. I mean it, and I think you guys are so dope. Like the first and second year teachers, I think second year teachers are like the coolest to be around at Clemente because they know how difficult it can be and they know how much hustle they have to put in. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to stay around and do that. And it's like, it's bonding as hell, man. It's like, you see how much it takes and to know that people are choosing to operate in that. It's like, it makes you, like them more. And I think y'all's group of teachers is like awesome. That core group that y'all are talking about is a great group that still has like teaching creativity that's going to like, not just engage, but like provide rigor and a
Because we
fun
have purpose, like someone said like what makes, like when we were talking about new staff that we hire, we're like what makes someone stay and what makes someone leave is genuinely like, do you have purpose here? Because you can get your heart stomped out, right?
Come on now.
No, Jesus. But you could get your heart stomped out, like, and then I've seen people leave in like 2 weeks. Like they're automatically like gone. And it's like not hilarious, but it's really sad. But it's also like the people that genuinely stay are the people that are like have purpose beyond like what's actually like happening day to day. It's like the bigger purpose of who they are.
Preach, bro. Preach. Come on. I could tell you listening to that new Kanye, huh?
I am not. I actually don't like that album.
I don't like it at all. And I love Jesus. Like, I think it's trash.
No, I'm down for Jesus. I like Jesus Walks. I'm not down for that.
Sorry, oBawany.
No, you don't have to apologize to me. Just anybody listening. I'm kidding.
Patel, that was extra real right there. Purpose, man. If you ain't got the purpose in teaching, especially at Clemente, man, you gotta be gone. Be
Well, I
gone.
mean, let me ask you a question. And I was going to actually like ask you, our final question, but I want to pick your brain on this. Last night, um, one of our colleagues posted on the group me about like actually kind of missing, even the students that used to like kind of get under our skin the most, not even in a negative sense, but like the biggest like jokers, right? We all miss our favorite kids, or even the kids who are just like um, incredibly goofy, but like we all also have difficult situations in the classroom where we kind of lose our humanity, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like being in a space where you can easily be incredibly incredibly genuine, sincere, loving, but also the next moment could be pushed in positions where you lose that sympathy, right? Where you do things that you regret. um it's crazy. When Monday was our last day, I was beat. I was like, you know what, this
Yeah,
is going to be a
okay.
good chance for me to kind of recharge, even though it's under some of the most saddest situations, right? And like my heart kept navigating to like, bro, like you're being very selfish right now, because like look at what the kids are going to go through.
We're
But
looking forward to a quarantine and a global pandemic so we can sleep. Like, it's insane.
right. But then also like, you shooting back internally and being like, listen, yeah, I am being selfish, but I also have needs, right? How do you balance that out? Like the fact that I think the classroom is crazy, right? It's this place where you can be some of the most humane people, but it's also a space where you can really lose your inhumanity or lose your humanity, right?
Yeah.
And be inhumane to people.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just weird. Like the toughest thing again for me as a struggle has always been like having to deal with a litany of things like imposter syndrome, not feeling like you're good enough for the kids, but then also having to deal with like sometimes suppressing the emotions I'm feeling, keeping it together for the kids.
Yeah. No, I think I think having someone to talk about that stuff with is
Mhm.
key. Like whether it's in house or like my wife. Anytime I had like a tough moment, I'd call her, right? But there were like my sixth period every day last year was like super huge, super difficult at times. A lot of personality. That 2 hour window after lunch where every kid is at like peak teenage angst, crazy hyper, and man, it was difficult at times to like bring them back in and like get their attention by still being like relatable and disciplinary and like all this stuff that you like that balance. And it was like extremely difficult. And I look back now that I have a 20-month-year-old son who's trying to potty train himself, which means taking off his diaper and running around the house naked. It's extremely difficult, and it feels like I'm talking to my sixth period class. I'm like, hey, put your diaper back on. He's like, okay. Big boys pull their pants up. Okay. And then 2 minutes later, he forgot all of that. And it's like, I can do this. I'm a teacher. I can do like it's kind of like the same way where you're like, would you please listen to me? Like, I just want to help you. Like, just listen. The difference in like having the emotion in a classroom where it's like these kids aren't yours, but like you care about them and you love them. I think that has to be like brought back to surface once they leave. And once you like get onto them, because you're gonna have to yell at times. There's one time where I didn't yell. I just got on the computer and started typing out like I was like put my smartboard on, and I was like, "Hey, would everyone please sit down?" It took like 3 minutes, but everyone sat down, and everyone shut up. And I'm like literally communicating just from my keyboard on the screen, and like no one was talking. And I'm like, "Now y'all want to shut up? Like what?" They're like, "It's the anticipation." I'm like, "No, you guys are just jerks." But like I had to get creative with like how I was gonna reset with how I was going to approach those situations or like have to adapt to someone's mood in a student. Or if there's a sub, God forbid, if there was a sub on the floor, then like all the kids are out of whack for the rest of the day. And it was very intentional, like resetting and like trying to program my mind not to just go in and freak out on them, but like be able to be the structure, which, I think I didn't perfect at all. And there were times I had to like yell. And I think one thing that changed was the thought of if I'm going to yell, I should yell through someone else. So I'm going to get this parent involved and see how involved I can get, or see how involved the parent is with the student. And we know that's not the case with all of our students. There's a range. But the parents I knew were involved, I could invite them up to the school and there would be some change and some, help there. And then I got to play the good guy with like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that was going to happen. But really I was like, nah, you needed to be yelled at. You were tripping. And other kids, you have to like solely rely on your rapport because that home structure isn't there. So it's like everything. And I think, Wani, I think you do a fantastic job. You too, Patel, because I think you guys take in kids' personalities. Like that data gives you the, what you need to make a decision based off what this kid is presenting you with. Like I've been into both y'all's classes and I've seen you like have to combat with students who aren't listening or want to be whatever. And I think that like it takes a certain level of resilience, but also a certain level of creativity with not just like, how am I going to engage this student, but how am I going to reset as a person? How am I going to like remain who I'm supposed to be as the teacher, but take a humanity moment before I like punch something. And I don't think it's an easy thing to do. I think you have to like have that support system. My bad. You have to have that support system. You have to have some creativity for yourself to calm down, and you have to have some like grace with who you're operating with in the student, and like ultimately know that you're going to come back the next day and forgive these kids of what they did today. Like that's hard. That's a very extremely hard.
It's hard to forgive.
It is because you remember, but ultimately, like with the student that we started with earlier, when I was talking about, I corrected him in the hallway, and he told me I was like the cops, and like he didn't fight back in the traditional way of like yelling and cussing me out. He just like said what he said, and I was like, dang, okay. And probably 3 weeks after that, I went up to him and apologized after I asked some teachers about him, and teachers that had a good relationship with him were like, oh, that sounds very out of their character. And I'm thinking like that teacher has seen this kid at their best. I haven't. So I can't just assume that what I did was warranted and assume that they're unhuman like me. Like I'm human and I'm feeling some type of way about it. He's got to be feeling some type of way about it too. So going and saying sorry when we don't necessarily have to, I think that is a way that also helped me, oBawany, to like see the bigger picture in the fact that this is a human interaction. This is like the same way I was upset, they were upset. And if I've got feelings, they're going to have feelings. So being able to start all over and apologize to a kid, there's a lot of power in that. And there's a lot of like, I don't know. It's like saying, hey, you deserve someone who's not going to yell at you too. And I did that. And I'm sorry for that because I don't want to be, that's not in my personality. Yeah. And I don't want to operate like that. So I think, that kid may think that, Griffin is lame, but I was genuine with my apology. And I think anytime I saw him after that, I said, what's up? And I don't know, Patel, I think you would have to ask him what he thinks of me now, or if he thought I was like just a jerk teacher cop guy.
He was just like, I think the conversation last year was you were leaving, and then he knew, and then I was like, oh, that sucks, and then he's like, yeah, and I got into it one time. I was like, what? And then no, he didn't care, but he's just like, he kind of knew that it was a misunderstanding, like between people. Like he's like, he didn't know who I was, I didn't know who he was, and it kind of, I think the apology you gave was like sincerely, like I think it was a life moment for many people, is of how you can misunderstand and not have to hold grudges and hate.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that with me, because I like there are some interactions that I've had with students where I'm like, man, did I like, I don't know. You start to rethink like how you've interacted with people once you step away a little bit, and you wonder if like you were too mean, or if you were too strict, or if you weren't mean enough, like all that stuff. And so like, thank you for giving me a little bit of insight.
No, I think my number one goal this year, I think I told oBawany at the start of the year, I was like, I don't want to yell as much. Like, I just don't want to yell anymore. Like, I didn't yell that much last year, but like, I was like, I really, really want to find a way to not yell. And like, because I would have moments of that, and I hated those. Like, I was like, I think kids think we enjoy those. Like, no, we hate those.
Or even like the fights, like,
yeah,
you can't break up a fight without yelling. So I think it was my second year teaching. there was a fight. It was like second day of school, which, first 5 days of school, there's going to be some fights. And so my way to like calm this fight down was to tell one of the aggressors, like, yo, chill, like not yelling, just like, hey, chill out, bro, chill, like relax, chill. And it kind of worked with the help of someone carrying him away. Later on that year, my wife and I were in LA, and we were walking home with some friends back to their house after a comedy show, and we got guns pulled on us, 2 of them.
Yeah.
One of our friends with us is pregnant at the time, and she like tries to turn and run, trips and falls. Her husband like jumps on top of her. My wife is like trying to turn and run, and I went into Clemente fight mode where I'm like, yo, chill. She's pregnant, and they ended up running away, which I don't think was me. I don't know what happened. We got blessed or something, but it was like that type of interaction was my go-to, not like I don't know what even else I could even think of in that moment, like to scream and yell, throw a rock or something. But
Or to escalate.
Right, that was my de-escalation go-to move, which ultimately I guess worked. But I think there are ways that we can like balance out how we interact and remain human while still being the for lack of better words, the authoritative person in the room or in the hallway, or just looking out for what's best for the group, whether that's a fight or someone stopping the learning process or opportunity. So I hope that answers your question, Buani. I know, like I said, I talk a lot.
Peso Bowani, that's what we're here for.
Much appreciated. I'm sorry, what?
The Peso Bowani, that's what we do here.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we want you to open up and share these, and like genuinely, we appreciate it. I know it's like you can't mentally prepare yourself for going through like all these memories, all these like significant things that have happened, and like all these other things about like things you might have missed, right? And I think that kind of leads me to my last question for you, and really appreciate your time. I'm like looking at the clock, making sure it's like we're within Gideon's nap time right now.
2 o'clock.
So like 2 o'clock, man. My final question to you, and I don't want to end it in a negative note, so it's a 2-part question. One, you have any regrets about your time at Clemente? And then 2, if you could send a message out to everybody right now who's at home as we're trying to navigate this really difficult time, students and staff, what would you say?
Dang. Start with the students, man. I'm sorry that y'all are going through like a tough year. Sorry to the teachers, y'all are going through a tough year. I think you guys like this has been a difficult year. Like teachers, students, y'all have like it's just been tough. Y'all know I don't have to give you a list of how or why it's tough, but I think right now is just stay resilient. Like I know that sounds corny, but teachers and staff, stay resilient. Like what you're doing right now to like still engage with your colleagues, engage with students, even old colleagues. I think keep doing this kind of stuff. This is so teacher stuff right now. Like you guys are literally doing a project that is like fun, but like you could be sleeping, you could be doing whatever. Like this part of you, stay this, because this is why you're both great teachers. This is why you're impactful and not just like people taking up space, but this kind of stuff is what our students needs. This is what our students need. So any teachers and staff that are during this time, please stay encouraged. You guys are incredible. To the students, man, I miss you guys. Continue to work, continue to put in work, whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to be successful in, it's not just going to happen. You've got to put in work. And while doing that, you need to know your worth. You need to know what you're worth, man. I'm telling y'all, don't settle for anything. If you think you deserve something, show it. Show that you deserve it by putting in work for it, towards it. Refine your craft, whatever it is. I miss you guys tremendously. You guys brought a lot of life and purpose to myself and my wife, and being able to just like grow with you guys out of my comfort zone, growing in a family, like it made a huge impact on me. I think regrets, man, any negative like interaction I had with anybody, um, yeah, I think that there's you want to I want to be a people pleaser. I want to make everyone happy, but that's not like realistic, right? So um, I hoped that I was, someone that was easy to work with and not like a jerk or just someone that, those people who make it difficult to work with. So I hope I wasn't that. I'm trying to think of a regret. I don't really, I feel like I tried and did everything that I thought I could do. I
I
feel
was
like
looking
I
just from a distance. You've very much like maxed out what was there. Is what I also try to do while I'm there. It's like not leave many things unturned.
yeah, I like, I think you guys are both like that. Like I just wanted to, I tried to do a good job so that no one could look back and be like, man, Griffin didn't do his job. Right. And I know that's kind of selfish, but like, I want to be able to leave the right way, come in the right way. I don't know that I have any regrets. I know, was it you and me, Bawani, one time you were in the office and you asked me like, would you send your kid to Clemente? And I was like, heck no. I think it was like a bad week. I was just upset.
That was me. Yeah.
You, right? I think it was second year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do. I regret that. Um, it just showed a lack of like uh, commitment beyond what was required of me to be a teacher there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I felt like it was like,
Yeah.
I believe in my work here, but I don't believe in it enough to send my kid here,
Mhm.
right? And that's not a good way to act. Now it's like, man, whatever school I'm at, I want my kid to be at, so I can bust up in his classroom and make sure he's doing what he should be doing. So yeah, I did like there's little things like that. There was on the last day that I was there, and y'all are gonna think this is corny, but it's Hoover, myself, and Pavlik and I went to lunch, and then we got back. I didn't tell anyone that it was gonna be my last day, but I was like saying bye to everyone, and I told Hoover at lunch that we were gonna, move on Monday, and we clocked out and we walked downstairs, and my wife came to pick me up because we only have one car, and Hoover and I are both leaving, and I hear Hoover say, Griffin, and I turn around and he's like bawling. He's like, I want to miss you, man. And I start bawling. I want to miss you too, man. And we're out on the corner of Western and Division, two 6'3" males, just like boohooing, and my wife's in the car, like getting it all on video. It's hilarious. I regret having more moments like that with more people, like
Mm.
just telling people you're gonna miss them and like give them a hug, because like at the end of the day, you're doing life with these people for like 3 years, and so yeah, I regret giving more hugs the last day, making a bigger deal of it, because it just and I'm in Chicago. My wife's like from Chicago, and I know that she's missing it terribly. So yeah, there's just I wish I could have had more time. Anytime I come to Chicago, I come up to the school. So if y'all see me on the campus, yeah, that's like I've been there twice since we've moved, and every time I try to come up there because I miss it. I do. I miss like the people, the students, staff, Mama D, yelling, Debbie, that one broke escalator that turns into two in the middle of the day. Um, there was one time where like kids thought there was a fight, and I thought there was a fight, so I was like running up and down the stairs trying to find the fight, and the kids were on the escalator running up and down, and I found out they were following me to find a fight, and I was trying to follow them, and there was no fight. We're just all running up and down the stairs like 30 students, and I'm like, this is so Clemente right now. Like, if this ain't the, it was just those kind of things, man. I miss those. You know, I miss all the nicknames: Larsh, Doondi,
Harsh.
Ethan. I miss running by Hoover's class and yelling and then running off. Hoover.
We still do that. Don't worry, people.
Oh, good.
we've been taking our rounds.
Yeah, don't go easy on that guy.
Trying. I took it. In our meetings, he has a chair in the back that was his, and I was like, why don't I just sit at his desk? And then I saw him sitting at his little computer at the front, and I could tell he was angry, but I was just situated, and he was like, Patel, you good? And I was like, I feel bad going in this guy's room and just taking over, but so be it.
Yeah, man, there's just a lot of stuff like that, just personality things. You missed the little things, dancing with Redmond and Sizo in the hall. Stupid stuff like that.
Oh.
Gavzer. Yeah, man, that guy's. Yeah, man, you miss the people. So I guess I don't know if that was the best bit of advice. Stay positive, guys. I know this sucks right now, but this too shall pass. I'm gonna try to make it down for graduation if I can, if I'm allowed to, because this group of seniors is my first group. There's a lot of great kids.
First graduating group, right?
Who's?
Those seniors. Those are the first kids that'll graduate for you out of high school. First class you taught, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. So it's crazy. The kids down here in Texas that are seniors that I started with them in 6th grade and coached them through up until 8th grade. They're all seniors, and the kids I started with in Clemente are all seniors. So it's this weird year.
They're also my first graduating class. They were my first class ever.
Let's go.
We did it, guys. We did it. I got you out of here.
I left. But I do, man, the students, Monte, there's just a bunch of kids, man, a bunch of good memories. Yeah, I don't know if that's good enough advice. Know your worth.
Know your worth, man. That means a lot. Really, really appreciative of your time. I know a lot of this stuff. We didn't give you any preparation. We're just we're gonna be out here.
I was so nervous. Yeah. Man, what are they gonna ask me?
Yeah, no, we me and Patel tried to come up with questions, but Patel sucks. As you can tell by his entire demeanor during this whole thing. Me out here.
Your bed in the background, Patel?
That's his bed in the background.
What happened?
What's that mound in the background?
Oh, it's my linen sheets. See?
Nice.
They're comfortable, man. I live comfy. Not oBawany comfy, but I live comfy.
Yeah, rich.
I'm poor. I don't live in Wicker Park. I live in a really modest place in Albany Park. I really appreciate you, Gaston. We appreciate your time. If you Patel, if you have anything, do you have anything?
Oh man, I miss you, Griffin.
We do miss you, man. I think the day you left, I kind of, I stay late every day. So I think the day you left, I was kind of man, a kind of a light went out at Clemente, and I still firmly believe that. And it's really funny when we talk to some of the teachers who are in their first year here and we mention your name. I remember being in spaces, especially my first year where they're this would have never happened under Marcy, right? And I'm like, what the hell's everybody talking about? But I think a lot of the first year teachers who are at Clemente and here mentioning your name and who may watch this, I feel really bad that they didn't get a chance to know you and work with you and really, really find some space in you. And I think speaking from my perspective and not just saying it because you're on here, but you were one of the first few people I saw at Clemente and I was like, okay, this can be somewhere for me to go for help. Yeah. This can be someone who can help me. And I had a very tumultuous start at Clemente where I was just these people are kind of terrible.
There was a story I used to tell oBawany because I really appreciated this too. I did not hate it. You come by with your clipboard, Griffin, and you check on your basketball kids. And it was awesome because I needed that at that time. But I told oBawany, I'm that's not going to get me respect. I need to go to Griffin's class with a clipboard, and then I just need to beat the hell out of him. And then I need to walk away and be I'm that guy now. And I was if I beat up this bigger, stronger man, I'll get.
Hold on, man. Is this prison? What the hell are you applying here? All right, no, I'm not. No.
I was just like, no, I need more right now.
Yeah, no.
Like,
Here I am talking about Griffin. Here I am talking about Griffin as a social emotional like pillar for me, and Patel's like, I just want to beat him up with a clipboard.
What? Well, Patel, my kids wouldn't have let that happen. I think they would have got you first.
No, it would. That's why. Like, if I did get through with it and I blindsided you, and I think like I would have been like, they'd be like, that guy's a savage. He's not even bigger than him.
No.
Sorry, go ahead, Gaston.
Nothing. I'm not gonna even respond to that because in my head that does look very funny, like getting beat up by Patel with a clipboard, and then be like Hess Matrix Griffin and like throw it at me. Throw a shoe.
Oh man, we really appreciate your time, dude. Patel, did you want to add anything before we start wrapping up? And then Gaston, you don't have to stay for the wrap up if you don't want to.
Stop death threatening me.
I miss you, Griffin. I don't have anyone to sit next to in meetings to bother.
No, you always had your speaker though. So
no, I still got my speaker. I'm still bumping it. oBawany knows he's right next to me.
That Power Glide song sucks still though.
Oh, put some respect on Mike Will.
I hate that song.
Mike Will made it.
Hey, Patel, remember when I tried to get Henderson to be like, oh, this song's horrible? I was like, what do you think about this song, Henderson? And she was like, oh, that's my jam. I was like,
yeah, it's like a strip club song, like power gliding.
Oh, Henderson works out mad crazy, so I can see her having like a
yeah, no, that's a great workout.
In her treadmill, whatever. I don't know. She does crazy workouts. Her and her husband. Dude, I cannot thank you guys enough for letting me come on here. I'm sorry for getting emotional at the beginning. Like, I want people to know that like any and everything I brought to Clemente, whether it was on, in the classroom, in the hallway, wherever I was, I tried to be 100% myself and give every bit of who I am in that endeavor or in that, activity. At times it was stupid. Yeah. But at least people laughed a little bit and, there's a little bit of joy. So I definitely miss Clemente and I believe in what you guys are doing. This is going to sound horrible, but I believe in what you guys are doing from the top down. Even though I didn't always agree with the top and Mr., the principals would let you know I definitely went back and forth, but it was always from a place of like trying to get the best idea to win and from a place of love and looking out for the kids. So I got respect for every single human being in that place. And I just pray for you guys often and know that, you guys are watering trees that you'll never see shade from, but it's so needed and it's incredibly impactful. And I just, oBawany, I think the last time I called you, I like FaceTimed you while you were doing the scores board at the game. I think I got you yelled at when the girls are playing in the United Center. But like seeing that there are teachers like you guys at those events, it's like, man, that's dope to know that the kids still have that support that's genuine and from a place of love. So thank you guys, man. Praying for all of you guys, students, teachers alike, administration, custodial staff. Trying to think. Is the pool fixed yet? No, I'm kidding.
Yes. It's up and running.
That's what's up. Good.
Yeah. Not right now, though, coronavirus.
It's fixed, but y'all just can't go in right now.
Listen, kids, you can't have this. But the chlorine will save us, Mr. oBawany. I'm like, I wouldn't go that far.
Hey, and watch out for that hawk. If you were ever in my class, those hawks are real and they will dip on you. Ask the students about a time when the hawk dipped down and I ran. I left the whole class. I was like, forget all y'all. And it just swooped on me like 3 times.
Thank you, Gaston. We appreciate you a lot, brother.
Hey, appreciate you guys, man. Y'all should see me in the spring. If we do have a graduation, I'm going to do my dangest to be there.
For sure.
I'll see you.
For sure. Look forward to it. All right. Me and Patel are going to conclude. You're free to hop off if you want to.
Okay.
Or you can hang around and hear us do some nonsense.
All right, there's no sneak distance. Nah, I got to – it's time to wake up the monster, man.
Hey, I love him. He's so adorable. I love him.
Bad, bro. He's bad. Him and Elmo, They're like, be like, Elmo, Elmo, Elmo. I'm like, nah, man, forget you, Elmo. All right, guys, love y'all.
All right, Gaston, love you too, man.
All right.
Hey, that was good, man. That was really cool. Before
Let
we
me
like stop
recording
recording.
for 1 second. Let's see.
Well, hold on, keep recording.
Okay.
I just want to do a wrap up. So those of you who had a chance to listen today, really powerful stuff, right? And these are kind of, we don't really know where we're going with this,
Oh, no idea.
as evident by like, everything you might have heard. But I think, today, kind of like what Gaston was saying, there's so much more that goes into teaching than showing up in a classroom and, handing a worksheet out or handing whatever out, right? Um, and I think like these are kind of the lived experiences or stories that hopefully people find some joy in, some interest in, some intrigue in, some sympathy, empathy, some even some anger or something, right? Because some of those situations, like Gaston mentioned, do get you angry. Some of them do get you really sad. Some of you do get you thinking about like how incredible it is where we are, right? And I'm speaking as a person, like even outside of a teacher-student relationship, a teacher-teacher relationship, a student-student relationship. Um, it's really amazing to watch some of the wonderful things that happen every day at school, and also to be in a position to try to impact or try to be in someone's life, right? Like for example, if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be thinking about a bunch of kids in the northwest side of Chicago at a school named Clemente like I do now, I would have thought you were crazy. What do you think, Patel?
Um, I don't know. It's a lot. It's. I think what you said right now of like, it feels like I've lived 50 years in the last 3 years. Like I
Yeah.
very much am a different person entirely, like for better and for worse. And it's like important to encapsulate that. I think this was cool because Griffin's like someone who has that hindsight, and it's someone we started with. And I think you said it
Yeah.
like he was one of the first people that I genuinely like, besides you and a few other people, like genuinely found like camaraderie in very early on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he means a lot to the school, and I think it was important to kind of try to capture him for the first one because one, we know how much students love him, but more importantly, like he's just a tremendous human being. And it's not as if we don't work with tremendous human beings every day, but like, I'm okay, right? But like Gaston is a once in a lifetime type educator. He's
Yeah.
the type that I think I'd sit there and I'd be like, man, that's the person I needed when I was younger. Yeah. But that's all we got for today. And then tomorrow we'll have uh Hoover join us, and oh
Man, this is
man.
gonna be a different show. Like
Oh yeah, it's gonna
this
be
is
a very
not gonna
different
be like
show.
this. No one's gonna be crying upset Hoover.
No, I'm gonna bring it to that guy. He deserves every bit of it. Like
Bro.
if you can imagine me taking off my earrings, rolling up my sleeve, and getting ready to fight, that's how it's gonna be tomorrow. It's gonna be a street fight. I don't have earrings.
I'll be here.
All right. This is oBawany signing off. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, I'm Peso, Chicago's baby. You already know who I am. Skinny Batista, aka Ocean Pablo. I'll see you soon.
See you guys.